Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to a very special edition of Finding Me and the ITV networks today. The essence and the focus of this particular program is to tell the other side of the story regarding the genocide in Gaza. The Zionist supremacist media and channels such as CNN, BBC, Fox News, NBC, many other channels on the French and other European networks, and of course some of the South African channels do not want to show you this particular story. It is what the media does not want you to know about the massacre and the genocide in Gaza. The Palestinian struggle for freedom from occupation is more than a human rights struggle. It is a fight against racial discrimination and prejudice, Zionist supremacist ideology and settler colonialism. The one fact that I would like all of you to really remember and to consider when you think about this particular occupation is that these settler colonies such as Israel, the US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, all of them exist through the disappearance of the indigenous native people on those particular lands. And this is called the logic of genocide. The logic of genocide maintains that indigenous people must either disappear or keep disappearing in order for the settlers to establish a rightful claim to the land of these indigenous peoples. In this way, the settlers then feel entitled. They deem it justified to own the land. Why? Because the people have left. The indigenous people have left. And so the settlers claim their land, their homes, their resources, etc. And as a result, they claim victory because the natives have disappeared. And this is exactly what Israel is doing, what Israel calls changing the demographics on the ground, get rid of the native people. The latest genocide and massacre in Gaza, July 2014, is evident of this. Let's listen to how Owen Jones explains this supremacist ideology by the Zionists and what they say about the Palestinians, because the Palestinians are not white.
Now, it's often said, and Barack Obama made this point, he said, what country on earth would tolerate rockets being fired at them? I ask you this, what people on earth would tolerate a siege which stops basic supplies getting in, an occupation, a 45-year-old occupation, a brutal occupation at that, illegal settlements all over the West Bank, which are in total violation of international law. Now, we all want a secure and lasting peace. When we have Israeli ministers, like the Interior Minister, calling for Gaza to be sent back to the Middle Ages, when in the last offensive we had another minister calling for a Holocaust to be inflicted on Gaza, when we have the son of Ariel Sharon, who wrote in the Jerusalem Post talking about how Nagasaki and Hiroshima were possible solutions to be inflicted. When we have those people, we won't get a secure peace. But the way we will get it, for Arabs and Jews alike, to end the occupation, end the siege of Gaza, and dismantle the illegal settlements, and finally have a just settlement for the Palestinian people, ensuring peace for Arabs and Jews and the region as a whole.
Israel is always claiming that Hamas does not want to recognize the right of Israel to exist. Yet Israeli politicians and members of parliament, together with a large majority in the Israeli population, have called for the total extinction and annihilation of the Palestinians. Israeli lawmaker Ayelet Shaked of the ultra-nationalist Jewish Home Party called for the slaughter of Palestinian mothers, whom she said give birth to little snakes. She said they have to die and their houses should be demolished so that they cannot bear any more terrorists. Let's listen to Professor Farid Ishak as he addressed thousands of protesters outside the Israeli trade office in Sandton on Friday, the 18th of July, 2014.
Comrades, one of the major problems at the heart of Zionism is that goodness, that chosenness, flows in the blood of the Jewish people. And that the Goyim, the non-Jews, must necessarily be less than what they are. This is at the heart of Zionism, that your legitimacy to live in a land comes because somewhere this has flown in your blood, and that your importance over other people flows in your blood. This is very contrary to the ideas that many of us here have today.
In light of these continuous insults, abuses, violent conflict and terror that is rained yearly on a besieged population in Gaza, South Africans also joined the world in protesting against the Israeli genocide, massacre and violations of international law and human rights. On Friday, the 11th of July, protests were held outside the Department of International Relations and Cooperation in Pretoria, calling on the South African government to expel the Israeli ambassador to South Africa, and South Africa's own ambassador from Israel should be withdrawn. Let's listen to what different speakers had to say at this protest. These include Kwara Kekwana of BDS, Mohammed Desai, COSATU Secretary General Zwelinzima Vavi, and of course the youth of South Africa. Their message is very potent.
BDS South Africa, together with other South African organizations, political parties and unions, are gathered outside the Department of International Relations and Cooperation, and we are calling on our government to immediately recall the South African ambassador from Tel Aviv and to immediately expel the Israeli ambassador from South Africa as an expression, as a diplomatic expression of disgust at what Israel is doing to the Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip.
Well, I'm happy that the demonstration is happening. I'm happy that so many people have come to support the demonstration. Our demands are very simple. Let the ambassador of Israel go back home. South African government must cut every diplomatic channel with the Israeli government. And secondly, we must embark on a complete boycott of all goods coming from Israel. We must have no economic relationship with Israel that continues to encroach on the land of other people, such as in Palestine and in Gaza.
Our protest today is a direct response to the current Gaza attacks. We are calling on diplomatic sanctions. We are calling on the government of South Africa to expel at the length the Israeli ambassador to South Africa, but also call for his counterpart to return home. So in the main is to call for diplomatic sanctions, but also is to mourn with the people of Gaza and to let them know that South Africans are with them in our hearts and in our minds and in our spirits. And we will continue to engage in a grassroots mass-based movement, try and isolate the apartheid state of Israel, and ultimately see a free Palestine. So these are some of the collective and coordinated efforts we are doing in South Africa.
Free Gaza! Free Palestine! Free Gaza! Free